Alright, Schlockmeister fans, we're going to dive into the Blind Dead collection here with the very first one, of course, Tombs of the Blind Dead. Let's check it out. Alright, our movie starts out in like the 1200s or something, a long time ago. And some woman is being tied up by the Knights Templar, and I'm sure she's not going to meet a very nice fate. I was right. They have swords and they're slicing her. These two chicks are Betty and Virginia. They just discovered each other. They're former friends. They haven't seen each other in years, though, I guess.
Did you get married? No time for marriage.
And just like that, they decide to hang out with each other and take a plane or train trip together, along with Betty's boyfriend. Sorry, Virginia's boyfriend. Well, Virginia's a little jealous because Betty and her boyfriend Roger seem to be getting a little too cozy with each other. She needs some fresh air, she says. And by fresh air, that means she's going to jump off the train. Virginia decides to explore the countryside a little bit, and she finds this abandoned town or ruins from many years ago. Obviously, that we know this is where the Templars were hanging out 900 years earlier. She decides to camp there for the night. Well, there's also a bunch of Templar Knights buried there. In the graveyard, things start happening. Movement. In fact, that's a rotting hand coming out of one of the tombs. Our Templar Knights are coming back to life. Slowly. Our ghosts also find their horses, which I guess are ghost horses. And then in slow motion, they gallop around. My bet is they're going to look for Virginia. Sure enough. Well, she manages to elude them, because they are moving slow. She crawls out of somewhere and finds a horse of her own, which I think is one of the Templars' horses. Obviously, the Templars are in hot pursuit, and obviously, it's daylight now. Well, she eventually falls off the horse, and the Knights catch up to her. Well, later that day, the train spots Virginia's body in the field. Looks like she got chewed up. Betty and Roger have to go to the morgue to identify her. And guess who comes back to life in the morgue? Yeah, it's Virginia. Then she sneaks up on Dude and takes a bite out of him. We learn about the history of the Templars.
Until the King of Spain conquered them and brought them to trial. They were hung and left for all to witness that witchcraft was forbidden. The crows ate the eyes out of the cadaver.
Virginia ends up in a mannequin factory next door to the corner, I guess. This factory happens to be owned by Betty. That's Betty's helper, employee, who manages to tip over this flame or something and ends up burning Virginia to death, or I guess she's already dead. But she's deader.
To the old village of Berzano. Then what? Then tonight we may solve the mystery.
Roger and Betty and these other two people are going to go back to that town to try to figure out what the hell the Templars are. Dumb. Well, that night the graves and the tombs start to move again. Which is kind of creepy, actually. They get a hold of one of the guys and chew him to death. reasons I don't understand, Betty and the other chick who went along get into a cat fight. Not the time or place. And the one who's not Betty gets chewed. Only Betty gets away again, actually, for the first time. And she sees the train. And somehow the train conductor hears her and stops the train. They help her aboard and she hops back with the coal. But the Templars get there at the same time and start killing everybody, including the passengers on the train. Somehow the train starts up again and arrives back at the station, where Betty is somehow survived by laying in the coal. New passengers hop on board and find the carnage. And that's how our film ends. Alright, let's talk about Tombs of the Blind Dead. So this was a quadrilogy, I guess you could call it. The director here is, what's his name? Armando de Osorio. Tombs of the Blind Dead. I saw this movie one time before when I reviewed it on my previous channel. I have a box set DVD of these things, the Blind Dead collection, if I can get this up here. These have since been released on Blu-ray, I think, and also a full collection like that. Don't have that one, but this one's fine. Blue Underground put this out. I think they put out the Blu-rays as well. So anyway, what we have here is a kind of a Spanish Gothic horror movie from 1972, was it 70? Something like early 70s. It starts out, we see the Knights Templar, which were a real group. They were like these Catholic knights. They were literally were knights, you know, like soldiers on horses, and they fought for the Catholics, I guess. I don't know. Back between like 1100 and late 1100 and 1200 and early 1300s as well. So they were on for almost 200 years before they were eliminated. But in this story here, we see the knights, you know, I guess back in the 1200s or something, and then we fast forward years later to modern times, or early 70s modern times, and there's these three people, a woman, her boyfriend, and this other friend who she ran into, two girls. They all take a train trip together, but the one girl becomes jealous because her boyfriend seems to be paying attention to the other girl, so she decides to jump off the train, as you do. They see her jump off, and they're like, hey, what was her name? Virginia, what are you doing? But they can't do anything because they're on a train. I guess they couldn't jump off. I don't know. But anyway, Virginia then wanders the countryside and stumbles upon the ruins of this old town or something. It's called Berzana or something like that. I don't know. And then she decides to camp there, spend the night. And then that night, there's a bunch of graves around there where these Templar Knights are, and they start coming out of their graves. And they're kind of cool looking. They're these skeleton-like things. They look like rotted bodies. They really do. And they wear these hoods and things. And next thing you know, they're on their horses again. They're like ghost horses, I guess. I don't know. But they end up coming after her in slow motion. Literally slow motion. Sometimes the film is shot in slow motion, and also they move very slow. But they get a hold of her, and they basically bite her to death and chew her up a little bit. And they're cannibalistic, dead zombie type things. I don't know exactly. Next day, her friends try to find her, and they find her, or the body is found. They identify her in the morgue. Somebody thinks this other guy did it locally, like just to use the Templars as a scare tactic. But anyway, these four people go to see what happened, and they all get attacked by the Templars also in slow motion again. Three of them get killed. The one survivor is Betty, the friend of the girl who was killed earlier. She was on the train. She runs to this new train that's coming past, and they stop to pick her up. She gets on it, and she hops in the coal cart, I guess you could say. And then the Templars come on the train and destroy everybody, kill everybody, eat everybody, whatever. The train starts up on its own and ends up going to the station where it belongs, and she's the only one left alive. Everybody else jumps on the train, and they see that everybody's slaughtered inside, and that's how our movie ends. Anyway, that's it. Now, is it a good movie? You know, it's kind of entertaining on some level. It's 83 minutes long. It's not a long movie, but I did kind of like it. I like just the atmosphere, I guess, if anything, was really cool. It is kind of slow, literally sometimes, but I just find it fascinating that these Templar Knights were real, but they just seem so weird and ominous and creepy. They look really cool. Like I said, they're not fast. They're not chasing after you very quickly, although they do have horses. That helps. But when they do come, they just slowly reach out with their hands. It's just kind of a cool vibe, a cool atmosphere. I guess I'll just leave it at that. I think this film set is pretty popular amongst horror fans, and I get it. I get it. So anyway, they made 3 more movies after this, which I'll be reviewing in the next couple of weeks. I'll probably do 1 a week or something like that. But yeah, I like it. I recommend it. So I will leave a link down below. I'll try to find the Blu-ray collection, which I think exists, and I'll leave a link to that. So you should buy these. Tell me what you think about them, and leave some comments. Watch it. Bye. Tombs of the Blind Dead.